Still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great one by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagen. Now McGrillen, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sybil scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Fakirk Daft.
Welcome to Fakirk Daft. It's your unofficial podcast dedicated to everything to do with the mighty Bairns. I'm your host John McAnally, and it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. But incredibly bored at the weekend. The game was called off. And what is life without football? Ross Wayne, the ginger god of pod, what did you do with your Saturday afternoon?
It wasn't as good as it could have been.
Did you end up at the retail park?
Briefly.
Oh,
I was
Jesus.
on dad taxi duty because the kids were going to do like Christmas cookie making or something like that in the town. So I was a bit of dad's taxi. Do you know Alloa are to blame here? And I don't mean as in not looking after their pitch or their stadium. Where they're to blame is they called this thing off at 8 a.m. Right? They could have. It's only 20 minutes on the roads. It was always going to be off, right? But they could have. Yeah. They could have done this at 2, because we could have been in the pub by that point. Oh no, the game's off. Schoolboy error by Alloa.
This is a very valid point. You could have been in there. Oh, sorry, can't do dad taxi. I've had a few drinks. What does that? You're right. You're absolutely this Alloa's fault, but an early call off for the game. I believe it wasn't due to the pitch. It was just due to the conditions, and I don't know if it was anything like round that way or round your way. It might. Like roads were like an ice rink.
Aye, listen, it wouldn't have been good, and they've obviously got a lot of terracing behind that goal, which we would have had a lot of people standing at, right? So it probably was the sensible option. But 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, that could have been a 2 o'clock job. Social media team, let's think about the boys here today. Put it at 2. It's not as if anyone's going to have set off by that point.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No. I know. I just took great delight because I've got a car park out my back, and I sat literally, I could have had popcorn there and just watched people fall on their backsides and try to get cars out. It was absolute entertainment. Who needs the telly, man? So that was me Saturday morning. Talk about telly, talk about the World Cup. I mean, I watched the 3rd/4th playoff, which was a decent game on Saturday in the absence of going to the Falkirk game. What about that World Cup final on Sunday? Oft.
Not too bad. As I said on Twitter, though, it's probably the best 3-3 since Falkirk Kelly in 1994.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that well. Andy Gray with 2, I believe, in that match.
But John Clark scored a couple of free kicks.
John Clark. And did Andy Gray score as well? Boy, I think he score. I'm talking rubbish. No, Andy Gray wasn't there at the time.
He was the season after.
I was season after.
I'm not sure who scored the other one, but I just
what a game.
And we could have won it at the end as well. It could have been. But no, what a World Cup final that was. I'm kind of, probably is nice that Messi got a chance to win it, because let's face it, it's his last World Cup.
No argument now. He's the GOAT. He's an absolute GOAT now. I don't think you can argue Maradona, Pele or Ronaldo as being the greatest. For me, that's it. Hands down. He's won absolutely everything in the game now. He led Argentina through that game yesterday, led them through the World Cup. Absolutely. I'm not having any arguments against it unless you're willing to put one up.
No, not at all, mate. I think you're right. Obviously, the only thing missing in his locker is the Challenge Cup, which, unless he decides to give us 6 months next season, he's never going to win. So, but he's done well. Otherwise, he's done amazing, isn't he?
Well, I did see a cheeky headline from the Herald over the weekend saying former Rangers target to play in the World Cup final or something like that, because I believe he was on the radar for Rangers at one point. So,
Messi.
I believe he was. There's always
this must be a tenuous thing, because remember St Mirren claimed that Ronaldinho was close to signing for them back in
that was cool. There is that, and Mahrez was on trial at St Mirren. You know that Riyad Mahrez was on trial at St Mirren.
He was on knocked him back.
he's basically, the story goes from what I've heard, right? He went to Paisley, went on trial, thought it was rotten, stole someone's bike and went away to the airport or something like that. It's so maybe I had lived that a wee bit, but Mahrez was on trial at St Mirren. There's all these stories. Remember, Ronaldo was going to sign for Rangers as well. The OG Ronaldo, because he was just going to play Champions League. That was obviously when Rangers were using all their EBT money and all that. So, but there you go. What could have been in Scottish football? Messi at Rangers, Mahrez at St Mirren. Ronaldinho. But then the best thing about the World Cup final, great game of football, unbelievable. Messi turns into the GOAT. Forget all that though. Emi Martinez using the golden glove as a cock was the actual highlight of the weekend.
Did I see a picture of like a guy standing beside him, just like looking totally raging?
One of the Emiratis just stood behind, just like giving him the death stare. Emi Martinez got this big face. There's the golden glove. Hey! It's like, and let's not pretend as men that's not something we would have done, because every time, right, Jimmy, look at this way. Any excuse, we've got something to look like a willy. There we go. And there's Emi Martinez in front of 4 billion people with the golden glove as a willy.
That's what everyone would have done. Exactly.
Exactly. But brilliant World Cup. Glad, however, we're back to the meat and gravy, which is League One and the push for that title. On our Twitter, Ross, this week, talking about great sportsmen, we put up a wee thing. Someone had flagged this up, and we said, what's the greatest sportsman? Who's your favourite sportsman that's not a footballer? I jumped the gun. I put it from the Falkirk Daft Twitter saying Andy Murray for me. Just because, see, and here he goes, he's shaking his head because he's a hippie. But
not just that, I fucking hate tennis.
But Andy Murray's determination, his fight for every single ball, that moment when he won Wimbledon for the first time, he's won it twice. I mean, it was just unbelievable for Scotland. That is one of the greatest Scottish sports moments of all time, right? And his heart and desire from Andy Murray before his injury he's unbelievable, and I really appreciate that. I mean, he's a bit of a boring guy, but he's got he's a bit of a dour Scottish sense of humour, and I like that. So it was Andy Murray for me. Who's it for you?
He's obviously, it's not a Scottish person, to be honest. I don't know if that was the criteria.
No, that's not the criteria, no.
Do you know, for me, he's the GOAT at snooker, and it's Ronnie O'Sullivan. I managed to see him live for the first time about 3
It's not really a sport though, snooker. It's a game.
It's more of a sport than tennis. Tennis is ridiculous. At least you can drink. Imagine Andy Murray trying to play tennis pissed. Ronnie O'Sullivan has played probably. He's done 147s and he's been pissed as a fuck. No, Ronnie O'Sullivan for me. A few years ago, pre-COVID, managed to get tickets for the Scottish Open.
Yeah,
and it was brilliant through Glasgow. And my dad's a big snooker fan, and we saw a good few players that week. But Ronnie O'Sullivan was someone I've always wanted to see live, and he didn't disappoint. Like, he was so like he's like the Stainrod of snooker. And do you know why I'm saying that? Is because I'm thinking back to the Shire a couple of months back. Stainrod had his bodyguards at the side of the stage. Ronnie O'Sullivan does the same. He's the only snooker player on the tour that has his own bodyguards. So, like, they literally stand at the side while he's playing, and then as soon as he's done, they move over so that no one comes over and asks him. It's a wee bit crap, because you would think kids, he would want a picture with kids, or the kids want a picture with him, but he doesn't allow that at all. But the guy is phenomenal.
So I'm not having snooker as a sport. I'm not having, and a few people got in touch with us. Castle, I'm not having this either. Gary Anderson, great darts player, but again, not a sport. I'm not having darts as a sport.
Well,
I know it's on Sky Sports. That could be an argument. It's on Sky Sports, and there's snooker's on Eurosport. But
I'm not a big darts fan, to be honest. But I can understand
the darts. God, I love the darts, man. I've been. I sat next to. Right, I was lucky enough. Have I told you my Tim Krul story? When I met Tim Krul at the darts.
I think so. Yeah,
when
he came up in one of our episodes.
Yeah. So the hospitality, and anyway, I met Tim Krul at the darts in Newcastle. He's good pals with Big Barney. Got chatting to both of them about Falkirk randomly. Raymond Barnabette was just standing there like that. So I'm talking to Tim Krul about Falkirk. Anyway, I was sat next to the guy at hospitality who his family have created the dartboards from day dot since the Victorian times. I can't remember the name. It's the well-known, it's the standard dartboard that everybody uses.
Is it not called like Windmill or something like that?
It was something like that. Anyway, I was sat next to him at the hospitality. Brilliant. Great chat. Unbelievable. Anyway, darts, I'm not having it as a sport. Gordon says Jack Nicklaus. Craig says Roger Federer is a very good shout. Roger Federer, unbelievable. You're tennis.
He's better than Andy Murray, obviously.
He's not. Angela says Bjorn Borg, another fantastic tennis player there as well. Ross, lot of tennis love. Larry Bird says Gregor of the Boston Celtics. Absolute unbelievable basketball player. Michael Jordan's got to go in there as well, surely.
I thought Michael Jordan would have been up there. Yeah.
Played two sports professionally, both basketball and baseball, and obviously led the Chicago Bulls in the 90s to amazing feats. So yes, keep them coming in if you want, that'd be great. Del says Gavin Hastings in the rugby as well. Gavin Hastings, hello.
You forget about the rugby. I know Gavin Hastings was for me he typified sort of Scottish rugby in the 90s because
Gavin Hastings,
he's the face of Scottish rugby as well, wasn't he? So
yes.
No, I totally agree. What was what the captain always called up? Wasn't he Gavin Hastings? What was he was always a captain and he was David Soul. Remember him and Gavin Hastings were the two that I think of in 90s rugby. And that's when they had the proper Scotland shirt as well. Just a plain thistle on the side, white collar, none of this crap now. See in rugby, what's with the straps? Fucking odd.
You can tell Falkirk haven't been playing this weekend. We're on to rugby strips and talking about rugby strips.
And see what we're talking about, strips. O'Neill's better do a fucking good job of this.
We'll get into that in a minute. Another person that's been in touch this week, a regular correspondent to the podcast, Rabonzo the Clown. I want to tweet this out because Marcus Haber on his YouTube channel has been bigging himself up, right? There's a highlight reel of Marcus Haber playing in the Cambodian League. He is, get this, here's some stats from Marcus Haber in the Cambodian League. 32 appearances, 31 goals, 5 assists, 2022 Cambodian Premier League Golden Boot winner. Touting himself for a movie. He's got 27 caps for Canada, as we know. Marcus Haber obviously did very well at the World Cup as well, Canada. So Marcus Haber clearly touting himself for news, and I'll retweet Marcus Haber's highlight reel, which goes on for 23 minutes. 23 minutes.
Listen, he's either hit a purple patch or Cambodian football is utter guff.
I'm going for the latter.
I'm going for the latter as well, you would think, but fair play to him for carving out some sort of career after. Well, it was a loan deal, whereas I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, oh Christ, he was awful.
He's banging them in Cambodia. Hey, listen, big January window's coming up. Marcus is back, baby. Marcus is back.
Can you imagine the fanfare? Oh wait,
No. So we'll wait. I'll post that on our Twitter. So if you want to see Marcus Haber banging them in for 20 minutes, there is evidence. We don't know if it's Marcus or his twin brother, but we will check into that. Thank you very much to Joe. Our friend Joe has pointed out the all-time table of Scottish teams. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, Ross, as well. It's pointed out basically the win ratio, the amount of wins, most wins people have had in the league. It's the all-time. So, like, Celtic are top of the tree, 4,290 games. Won 2,697 of them, drawn 836, and lost 757. They're above just Rangers. So the team, this is where it gets interesting, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the table stacks up. So this is all-time results from the all-time table. Here we go. Celtic 1, Rangers 2, Hearts in 3rd, Aberdeen in 4th, Hibs in 5th, Motherwell in 6th. Starts getting interesting now. Dundee in 7th. Kilmarnock in 8th, St Mirren in 9th, Partick Thistle in 10th, Dundee United very low down compared to what, I mean, obviously they had their time in the 80s. Yeah. They're in 11th. However,
that surprises me with Dundee United.
Yeah, just below Dundee United, Falkirk Football Club. There you go.
12.
We are in 12th of the all-time, in the all-time Scottish League. We are in 12th position. And where are Dunfermline, I hear you say? Where are Dunfermline? Well, they're right down there in 20th position.
Well, listen, it doesn't shock me because it's form's temporary, and it classic.
Exactly. So Falkirk's total 2,444 games, 815 wins, 564 draws, 1,065 losses. So we'll take that.
I'll say that's a small win. It obviously doesn't change the current league placing, unfortunately, but we'll take it as a small win over the Pars again. Dundee United being in 11th, I think you said. That shocks me. I would have thought they would have been higher than almost all. You mentioned Kamara, Partick, and Simon and stuff. I would have thought they would have been above them, but as you say, especially since they're a bit of a purple patch in the 80s and stuff, it just shows you that obviously they've not they've not been great for the last so many years, have they? But that shocks me. But good on the Bairn's been 12th, and what they should do now then is recut the leagues, and we should be the top 12. That should be the top 12.
I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. So there you go. Another thing that was on our Twitter this week, Gordon, and we retweeted this, was Gordon points out world-class Falkirk goals that don't get talked about. Stuart Taylor away to Dundee in the Scottish Cup. So I want to start a thread on this on the podcast. Those top Falkirk goals that never get talked about. So we you'll hear in our intro there some of the classic Falkirk goals. But what are those goals when you've maybe you've scored a consolation goal, or you've maybe drawn a match or something like that? Those goals that you've been unbelievable, but have not really meant anything. Can you think of any goals off the top that don't get talked about enough, Ross?
It wasn't meaningless, but I remember Latapi scoring an absolute belter through Airdrie. Like outside of the right boot, and he curled it in from outside the box.
Oh yeah,
we won the game anyway. But that's in my head. And again, it did mean something. But do you remember Blair Alston's goal against Accies in the Scottish Cup? It was like probably further out the box actually, and it might have came off his shin a wee bit. But what a strike! And for going in for that angle was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
What one have you got in your head?
I don't know. Looks against Livingston.
That was a belt. Well, if he meant it was a belter.
I think he meant that. Outside the left boot. Oh, what a peach that was.
It was a belter of a finish. It was a belter.
I think, did we win that match though? I think we might have won that match, or maybe it was a draw.
Oh, I don't know. I would need to look. Was that the cup? No, that must have been the season after the cup final, I think, wasn't it? But yeah, no, I need to check that one. But no, that was a belter of a finish, to be fair. You're right, he probably did mean it, because there was literally he did look up and there was no other Falkirk player in that vicinity.
We won 2-1 that day, so, and it was an absolute worldie. So I'm having Luke Leahy's against Livingston. Doesn't get talked about enough because it was an absolute belter.
Well, Luke Leahy from the same season, remember when we played Hibs? And well, you will remember obviously because it was a great. But the playoff game, and he scored for about 35 yards out, just low and hard.
Aye. Aye. Big Luke. Good player. So that's what's going on in Falkirk Daft. Well, let's get into the club news now, though. And as Ross alluded to, and this unfortunately just broke as soon as we stopped recording the podcast last Monday. Now we've got a new kit partner. O'Neill's Irish International Sports are going to be the official kit partner until May 2028. Obviously that kind of ends our long-running deal with Puma. I believe there was 14 bids put in as part of the tender to try and get the kit, Spencer's, but it was O'Neill's that stood forward against everyone else. Don't know much about O'Neill's. I know they've taken over at Thistle, is one of the few Scottish clubs that they have, but they've been more into Gaelic football, hurling, all that sort of sport, Australian rules football, rugby league, and now they've went into kind of football. So I don't know much about the kits. Be interested to get a take from a Partick Thistle supporter on what they've made of the kits.
Yeah, no, it would be good to hear what the feedback is. The great thing I read was obviously that it's going to be bespoke, and it's not that Puma did a bad job with some of the bespoke ones we had, because I thought they did okay. You know, like the one where we had the steeple across the front, and then there was that season we had like the Falkirk landmarks on the sleeves.
Yeah.
I do think the bespoke thing's pretty good. I think the issue with Puma is that as we've seen, the costs have just been so high. So hopefully these are a competitive pricing for families and everybody who wants to buy a shirt. But
certainly looking at this year's Thistle kit, I've just pulled up images of it there just now. It's quite nice. I quite like it. They've kind of got this kind of bleeding the red, and they've got the red and yellow traditional stripes, but the kind of red bleeds and stuff. So it'll be really interesting. And if you say it's bespoke, it's not just off the shelf Puma. You've got to get bespoke, strips, which is great. Which we'll get into our World Cup of shirts later on, and you can see it's bespoke strips are always the ones that are going to come out top. That's a spoiler alert, by the way.
That it does. Obviously, I've not had a chance to look at the Thistle ones yet, but from what I saw online, people were commenting. It sounds positive. I noticed they said they're going to look at retro shirts as well. Ooh. So that'll be kind of cool if they break their. Obviously, I know the club about 10 years ago brought out a couple of retro strips and they sold really well. So fingers crossed they're able to kind of open that market up even bigger as well.
That would be great. Just disappointed it wasn't Hummel.
Yeah, but it would have been nice, but maybe we're just. Can you imagine
nostalgia?
And then it came out and it was utter rank. It would just absolutely destroy the illusion that Hummel don't bring out a bad strip. I think one of the other things they said about this company, did they not say it was made in it's made in Ireland as well? So I think that's good too, because it means for years, obviously Puma have been, Turkey or something like that, or China. Yeah. And it takes months to get over to the UK, and you need to, obviously the club probably need to do quite high levels of orders. So if this sounds like it's going to be a good deal, so
so we'll wait and see next season what the strip's going to look forward to that. Club are thanking everyone. There's still a few handful of 10-year season tickets available. I believe there's been a relatively good uptake on those available. There's still a few left. Again, if you listen to this podcast and, looking to help the club with a bit of injection money, and obviously you're going to use your season ticket for 10 years, barring anything bad. There's a good question. That's really a really morbid question, but 10 years is a long time. What happens to the season ticket if, you'll get run over by a bus tomorrow?
Listen, I'm sure it'll be handed down to a family member, I suppose. But you're right. Yeah, it's a good question. If they didn't have any family, or if the family weren't into football, I don't know what the answer would be to that question.
Well, there's a morbid question to pose to the Falkirk board.
We'll do a poll. But no, I get the point. But you're right. If someone can afford it and they're able to do it, brilliant. It sounds like. What is it they said? Over half of these have went, so yeah, it's a good start, and hopefully the rest will go as well.
It's a good Christmas present, a very expensive Christmas present for that Bairn in your life. If you want a cheaper Christmas present, look at our merch, shop.spreadshirt.co.uk.
Or enter the competition that we've currently got running.
Right, well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that in a minute.
We'll come back to that.
Right. Also, sad news this week. A former player we reported last week, and then this week is again. Alex Ducker has sadly passed away. He was really involved with the Falkirk Former Players Association, and Michael White, club historian, everyone will know Michael from around the ground. He's wrote a really detailed account of what he did for Falkirk on the website, so go and check that out. But sad news, thoughts obviously with Alex's family at this time, because he's a Falkirk born boy through and through as well. So that's it. So that's news for this week. Ross, you alluded to it there. We have a competition, let me tell you.
We do, and it's open until Friday lunchtime. So Friday at 12 noon. The reason being is the competition is so you have to follow our social media pages, like and share the posts that we've done, and the winner, which will be drawn on on Friday afternoon. Not only will they get to be our guest pundit next week, prior to the Dunfermline game, which is always a big episode. However, they'll also win one of these special Falkirk Daft glass tankards. It's pretty heavy, so we've got pictures of that on the social media pages. So like, share, follow the social media pages, and if you are free to join us as guest pundit on the, I think, 27th or 28th, you will come on as the guest pundit, and you'll also win the glass tankard as well.
So there you go. If you're checking out the video version, you'll have just seen the lovely. And these are limited edition. There's only 5 ever made. Only 5 of these made because we're not using our usual merch dealer for this. Very, very nice. And thank you very much. Ross got me one made up as well. So I'm very much looking forward to having a couple of beers out of there over the festive period.
That's the picture on Christmas Day we need, John, of you sipping your beer out of your Falkirk Daft.
Indeed.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Every week in Falkirk Daft, we normally, we get on a guest pundit, we talk about a game, but there's no game to talk about this week. So we thought we'd look back at the last year of being a Falkirk supporter. My God, it's been a roller coaster, my friend. As Ronan Keaton once alluded to, life is a roller coaster. You just want to ride it, as he said. Wow. So I look back, I was putting all this together, right? I was putting together all the results, I was putting together where we've been, where we're going, and again, you start off the year, right? We had Martin Rennie, who was appointed in December. This time last year, actually, probably about a year ago, in fact, it might be a year just past, the Martin Rennie was appointed as Falkirk manager. So we went into the new year, went into the January transfer window, thinking, new hope, Falkirk boy in charge, Martin Rennie's at the helm. Let's just talk about the appointment initially, Ross. What did you initially make when Martin Rennie was appointed as Falkirk manager at the start of the year?
His name had been touted quite a bit over the last couple of years, and obviously there was a lot of noise about him doing well at other jobs. The fact he was a Falkirk fan, obviously, it just made you want to back him, so which everybody did, and I don't think anybody could say otherwise. He was backed by the fans. He was very, very welcome. He obviously brought Kenny Miller in, who some people, including myself, thought he could maybe have still pulled the boots on, especially at that point where we couldn't score for love nor money. I know we had the boy, was it Cabia? We had him, but otherwise we were kind of struggling. And it just didn't go well at all, did it? So no, it was. I thought the getting the job at the time was going to be brilliant, there was nothing really behind it, just other than the noise that had been made. Plus, he was a Falkirk guy and he wanted them to do well, but unfortunately, that's not how it panned out, is it?
No, I mean, you looked at when the decision was made. I was right, okay. I didn't think at the time, after the Sheeran experiment, it was a manager that we needed a kick arse in there. We needed a old school manager. Obviously, we've got that in John McGlynn now. But at the time, you thought, well, Kenny Miller's coming in with him. You think he's a winner. He's a proven winner. And I was very excited about that. I was like, this guy has done it at every level, He's done it in the Champions League. He's done it at international level. He scored against England, for God's sake. And you think, bringing him on in his assistant, then I started going, right, well, maybe something could happen here. But you then, I was reading the statement back from the club at the time when it was brought in. It's like, the board of Falkirk Football Club is delighted to announce the appointment. Martin Rennie is our new head coach. Martin joins the end of the season, brings a very strong track record in both the United States and South Korea. Is it what we needed at that time? Because, ultimately, when you look at the results, you look at what happened, we didn't even make the playoffs.
No. I think the other issue, John, is that we were, at the time, an absolute basket case off the park. And you do wonder if that maybe would have played a part on somebody like John McGlynn coming over to the club anyway. Obviously, the change that came in, because I think Martin Rennie getting the job was the very, very first thing that the new board actually did. Was to appoint him. And I don't mean that in a slight against him, because I do think there's been far more good than harm done in their tenure.
Do you think it was a rushed appointment, though? Do you think they've come in and they've seen? I don't know if anyone's had a relationship with Martin Rennie or what's happened there, but do you think
that was the chat? And I don't know who had the relationship with him, but I think that was the rumor at the time, was there had been conversations taking place about this happening. It obviously didn't work, and as you say, the appointment of Kenny Miller, I think everybody thought, well, that'll be a good move as well, because he knows Scottish football. He's done well from a playing perspective everywhere he's been. I personally was disappointed he wasn't signed as a player assistant. But then if he's not got it, and although the rumour was that he said he would play, and Martin Rennie had said, no, I want you on the touchline. Now, looking back on it, you wonder if that was more around Martin Rennie's confidence in himself versus actually wanting him on the park.
I think he would have made a huge. If Kenny Miller, I think at that level, even at the age he was at, he was still fit as a fiddle, and I think he would definitely have done a job there. I mean, Kenny Miller obviously used his connections at Livingston as well, bringing Jace Cabia and Keegan Jacobs in that January transfer window. Keegan Jacobs is a player I always admired. And I don't think he got the run at Falkirk that he could have done. But like you say, on the pitch, it was just an absolute mess. And we obviously brought Paul Watson back in from Dunfermline in that window as well. And Paul's obviously had a really torrid time with injury.
He has, and it'll be interesting to see whether he actually plays again this season because by the sounds of it, he's obviously his recovery's been put back again. So who knows when we'll see him again, if indeed we do. So that's not worked out either. We obviously get to February, still didn't sign anyone of note from a goal scoring, and then we sign Leigh Griffiths, who again we all thought was going to be a great signing at this level, and again it didn't work out.
No, but that's getting on to that. We moved into February. I mean, we started off the year flying 6-2 against Dumbarton. Anton Dowds, obviously we recalled him and brought him back into the side from his loan spell. Yeah. And,
John, which wasn't a bad decision, right? Because it was the right thing to do.
Of course it was.
Flip side of that was you could tell instantly that the player absolutely hated being back.
Of course he did. Why would you be dragged from a championship contending club back into League One? Of course, as a player, you would absolutely despise that.
Because when I saw him, it must have been that Dumbarton game because he scored a hat trick, didn't he? He after he scored every goal, he looked as if someone had just told him that a family member had died. Do you know what I mean? It was like he would rather be anywhere else than there. You wonder what impact that maybe had in the dressing room as well, because who knows what he was spouting behind the scenes and stuff as well, because obviously his tenure prior to that had been tainted with the whole Gary Holt situation, which was nothing to do with Martin Rennie or Kenny Miller or the current board, but he obviously had a sort of bad taste in his mouth about the whole Gary Holt thing.
No, and the thing is, though, it was a really kind of up and down when you look at that run in January. But when you're beating Dumbarton 6-2, then beating off Airdrie 3-2, then you're getting away East Fife 2-0, drawing with Queen's Park, beating off Montrose shock horror, and then obviously Cove beating us as well. And that was really kind of the turning point when Cove beat us in that away game. At that point, like you say, we brought in Leigh Griffiths. That was a big gamble, both on Martin Rennie and the board's part, from the money which we hear Leigh Griffiths was on. A failed experiment, fair to say, Ross.
Yeah, I think the gamble was probably worth taking because it could have worked, and it obviously didn't. But it could have worked, and it could have been the difference between getting into the playoffs. Or whatever the case may be. Well, we're never catching Cove, obviously, but if it had been the difference between getting into the playoffs and potentially getting up through the playoffs, then personally I think it was a gamble worth taking. The trouble was he was overweight. You could tell there was, like, the skill was still there.
Yeah.
But how much did he want to be there? I don't know. I don't think that was there either. Right player, wrong time, maybe, in terms of both his situation and the club's situation, just the wrong time.
Yeah. I mean, Martin Rennie started off with I think it was just a few too many draws when you look at drawing with Queen's Park in February, Peterhead, beating again, like I said, off Cove, drawing with Clyde. There was just too many draws going on the board. And then yet again, our bogey teams, Airdrie, Montrose, come back to haunt us every single time. I mean, that run at the end of March going into April, when you're beating off Peterhead, you're beating off Montrose, and then you're beating off Cove again, just horrible. And that was ultimately the downfall to the season, and it was the wheels had come off by that point. The wheels had absolutely come off, and obviously Kenny Miller got the last few games in charge as well. But it was just it didn't work. I don't know. There was no connection. Was it the squad? Maybe. Was it the management? Was it you just don't know. But I mean, to lose out on the playoffs in League One is a disgrace.
I agree. I think it was all of the above. Wrong squad, wrong tactics, wrong setup. Everything was just wrong, and you could feel it. Like you talk about that Peterhead game. There's that picture of Martin Rennie after the game, and he looks like haunted Tupperware. It just like he thought to himself, why the fuck am I here? And we're going, why are you here? Because it was like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was a one-sided thing where he was great and the team was rubbish. Because it was definitely a combination of both. But he just out his depth. And do you know what? It was obviously a 6-month deal, so fair play to the board for only doing that. Because how many times have we thrown a 2-3 deal at managers? So fair play. That did work out because we were then in a position to go and get a manager that could genuinely make a difference. And I think everybody, when granted it was tough to get beat off a few teams towards the end of the season, but you were just glad to get the season over, and you knew or you felt like, right, okay, this is a chance for us to start afresh again.
Well, the greatest thing that was decision that was made near the end of that season was the fact that you could go straight into the Brockville bar from the South Stand. And I remember the last game against Alloa when we were 2-0 down. We went out at half time and we did not come out of there even, and we're just like, we just scored.
Aye, I know, and that's sad, isn't it? Because we don't go. And as much as we talk about we're having a pint of beer and a day out and stuff like that, the big thing is we go for the game. We love the club. We want to see the club do well. There's nothing better than when Falkirk score. Like nothing better. And it was robbed of us for so long. And it is great to see it come back at points. And I know we'll get on to a minute about like best game and stuff like that. But there has been a few moments this year, probably not enough, but there has been a few moments this year. And hopefully January's coming. Fingers crossed there's a bit of wheeling and dealing. This is probably the manager to do a bit of wheeling and dealing. Probably first since Houston, because otherwise you've never felt like a manager or a management team have been in a position to do it. I genuinely think if he can work a bit of magic in this window, I think he'll do it.
I mean, looking back at the tail end of the start of the year then, and obviously the tail end of the season, anyone from that squad that you're quite disappointed to see go, or was there anyone in that season that you could have? I thought Keena was hard done by. I'll be honest with you. I thought Keena could have been a bigger player for us than he was. Charlie Telfer, I always feel sorry for Charlie. Again, he played well against us the other week there when he was playing for Airdrie as well. I thought Charlie Telfer was probably our best player of last season.
I would have just emptied most of them, John, if I could. And I know obviously we were lumbered with a number of them for this year. I genuinely wouldn't. If Falkirk had came out with a statement saying everybody's going, I don't think at the end of last season, I don't think any of them could have had any complaints. Obviously, Leo McCann's came on to a really good game this season, which is brilliant. But really, everybody else probably could have been emptied. I know what you're saying about Telfer, but then Telfer was part of a problem for 2 or 3 years as well, because we just weren't good enough in that midfield. And I don't think he would have helped this season either. I don't think he would have been a good foil for McGinn. I do think we're missing someone to do that, but I don't think it would have been him.
No. So, John McGlynn did the business early. Obviously, Kenny Miller was almost on a trial, but, didn't do well enough. So he was dumped out. John McGlynn brought in as first team manager on a 2-year deal after leaving Wraith Rovers. We all said at the time, and I don't think there's any Falkirk supporter out there that wasn't happy with that appointment. It was the right appointment for me at the time.
Me too. Still think it is as well.
Yeah. No, I should clarify it. I still do think it is the right appointment. I think we'll see things come good. But I think every Bairn to a man was like, yeah, that's what we need. That's the exact manager we need. We tried Sheeran. We'd had all these young managers, obviously Cracks and Miller, Sheeran, Rennie, and then we've got in the club now a man who is a proper football manager, and that's no offence to his predecessors.
No, he is. He's a proper football manager, and I think there is a level of trust there. It was a coup to get him because obviously Wraith were doing really, really well. Granted, there was the whole behind the scenes.
Goodwill, yeah.
Stuff. But it was a coup, so I think we should be chuffed that we were able to get him, and it probably speaks volumes for the stature of the club that we were able to get him. And you could argue it's the same stature and manager and McGlynn that you were able to get guys like Stephen McGinn as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, he didn't mess about, did our John? Straight into the transfer window, really. Liam Henderson came in, Cole Donaldson came in. Then we saw in June, Stephen McGinn, Gary Oliver, Sean Mackey joined the squad. I mean, he worked really, really quickly and obviously brought in a lot of, when we look around that initial, when you saw Stephen McGinn signing, you think, this is the kind of player we've been missing, and certainly up until recently, he certainly proved at the start of the season what his worth is, especially in this division.
No, he definitely did. Sean Mackey, I thought was going to be another good sign, and it probably has had more good games than poor games. Gary Oliver was a weird one, I suppose, but then we needed a striker, and then we've never really played him as a striker. But I think some of the signings have obviously done better than others. Finn Yates looks to be a good addition to the squad. He's not going to be on massive wages, you would have thought, based on kind of where his age and his tenure and stuff like that as a player. But then we've won a watch with some of the other ones like Burrell. We've probably got a bit more out of Lowell. We've got a bit more out of than we maybe expected as well. So all in all, definite improvement on last season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at obviously the loan signs we've brought in from Rangers, Juan Alegria and Kai Kennedy really starting to come good for us as well. Juan just needs to get in that, I think, just a consistent run. Nicky Hogarth as well. I've got to put a shout out for Nicky Hogarth. Nicky Hogarth's never had a real mistake in him, I don't think. And you never remember him having to do much in games. The saves he has made to keep us, have been great, when you think about the save made against Airdrie and things like that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the players he's brought in, there's not been, touch wood, that many duds. Is that fair to say?
No, I would agree with that, John. Going back to Hogarth, if it's tough because I don't know the deal. Like, see if we're getting him for almost nothing, as in he's getting developed, then I would 100% be trying to keep him. If he's taken up a huge amount of the budget, then maybe we should be looking at Morrison for the second half of the season. But if not, I would definitely be looking to keep him for the remainder of the year.
I'd be interested to see what deal we've got with Forrest on that, but I suspect it's just developing.
I can't imagine we touch sides.
No, for a club of Forrest size, they'll be quite happy to just get him out and playing games, I suspect.
Well, they've got a squad of about 407, so he's not going to get a game anytime soon, probably even for the reserves. So you would assume the development of him, and he's at home. Do you know what I mean? He's up with his family and stuff, so it can only be a good thing.
Yeah. So happy with the obviously the signs that were brought in by McGlynn. Obviously his hands are still a bit tied with what he's been left with as a legacy when you look at sorts of Seb Ross, Jamie Wilson, players like that. Like say Leon McCann is one player that's really shone through under John McGlynn. There's maybe another couple of players that need to start looking at what McCann's done. Looking at you, Stephen Hetherington, and players like that need to step up, because McCann certainly has done that. And as in terms of the legacy that's been left behind for John, you can't really argue with what he's done,
No. As I say, Liam McCann done really well. He's kicked on. Not enough of the others have, if we're being honest. Maybe an argument for Morrison, but Morrison's never got up to kind of speed as to where he was a couple of years ago when he first came in. We're just not getting enough out of them. So I do think hopefully a few of them will get emptied in January, moved on, even if it's a loan deal. Then we can try and get another couple of bodies in.
So Falcon starts the season. We started with that magnificent, and potentially we're going to get into it in a wee minute, moment of the season where we beat Hibs 1-0 in the League Cup. Fantastic header from Aidan Nesbitt. Just that was, for me, was what really excited me about John McGlynn. Certainly over that first couple of months, are on the front foot from the first whistle, just relentless, absolutely relentless. And when you look back, at the Hibs match, certainly the first half were unbelievable. Then you look at, some of the games. It was, we had this, and this is the problem with Falkirk. You look down at the consistency. So you start off, there you go, Morton beat Falkirk, Hibs beat Bonnyrigg Rose, beat on penalties, Clyde beating penalties. Then Montrose and Airdrie, shot caller, dropping points there. And then you go on the run again. Peterhead, Edinburgh, Queen of the South, all beat. Then we get, to Kelty. And that's just been it this season. It's just been, like I say, life is a roller coaster. You've just got to ride it, as Ronan Keating says. And it has been that roller coaster. And it's just like all the big dips that we have in this season, it's just a kick in the balls from, what we've done previously. And my worry now is that teams, and we saw this against Dunfermline, we've maybe seen it against Kelty as well, have figured us out, from that start of the season.
Yeah, it certainly feels like it, mate. You're right. We feel as if we've turned a corner. You win 3 games or 4 games, and then wham, we're dealt a blow. And then you're right. We need to pick ourselves back up. We do it again, 2, 3, 4 games. Bam, again. So we're just not consistent enough. I know we're probably sounding like a broken record because that has been the sort of theme.
It's just, all season we've been saying it on this podcast, all season. And the thing is, we went through that beautiful purple patch, starting with the Challenge Cup against Thistle, and we went through this period where we beat Clyde, beat Peterhead, we dropped points in Montrose, but fair enough, we didn't lose up there, we beat Alloa, and then bang, we're thinking, let's kick on, this is it now, and then Kelty come into Falkirk in October, and it's like, it's just, again, it was just, what is going on here? What is going on?
I know, and even after the Kelty game, I think it was we went down to Queen of the South, and we got a good win there because there was a reaction.
Yeah,
changed the team up a bit again. You have that, and then there's the whole fanfare of the build up to Dunfermline, and bam, come 3 o'clock, we are absolute horseshit for 90 minutes. Dunfermline weren't much better, but they got the win, as they have been doing in almost every game. They've been clawing a defeat back to a draw or a win. That is exactly what we need to be doing. We need to be winning far more than we have been, more consistently. But when it's not going well, we need to be trying to rescue a point here and there.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at certainly, and this is where the questions are starting to get asked, and there's starting to be a wee bit of murmurings in the stands and then on social media, is when you look back at the last couple of months when we've only got 1 win out of the last 5 matches. That's kicking off from Dunfermline game, Ross. We had that win against Edinburgh, where again, close contenders, but then we go away to Clyde in a game we probably should have won there as well, and a couple of weeks ago against Airdrie as well, where again, silly mistake, and we and this is the thing. And then obviously last week in the Challenge Cup was just pathetic, absolutely pathetic. So this is where murmurings are starting to come. It doesn't help that the game was called off against Alloa there at the weekend, but because we need to just get back to winning ways, and we need to, and as I've said in previous episodes, every game just must win, every game.
Yep, starting this Friday. Obviously disappointing Alloa didn't go ahead, but weather-wise, I'm sure Friday will be absolutely fine. With the looks of the forecast, but yeah, it has to be 3 points. Has to be. If we've any intention of being in the consistently up in the upper tier of this division, which, let's face it, we should be. It's Falkirk in League One. We should be top or in the there or thereabouts.
We should definitely be in the playoff every single year, without a doubt.
Minimum. And Dunfermline will drop points, but we cannot be the team. Like, they've dropped points in the last, since we played them, and we've not made the difference back up. And we could have been almost neck and neck with them again before we play them next week, but we're not.
No.
Sorry, the week after, but we're just not there.
Yeah. So if you're marking John McGlynn's halfway across the season as report card, what we're giving John McGlynn and Paul Smith at this halfway point in the season?
What is this, like out of 10 type thing? Are we talking?
Well, yeah, I'll give you A going down to D and F.
All right. Okay. Well, it's definitely not an A, but I think it's probably in that sort of poor B, strong C for me, if I'm being honest, John. I just think there's definite improvement, because let's face it, we were last year and the last couple of years, we've been that kid who doesn't get a certificate at the end of the we're the one who gets that wee bit of toilet paper. It's like, oh, well, at least you turned up for the exam. Well done. That's all we've been good enough for. So we have improved. Is it where we want it to be? No. Is it where we need it to be? No. But there's definite improvement. I think January's crucial for us, both on the pitch in terms of getting results, but also trying to get out some of the waste that we've got there, because they're not doing anything. You mentioned Seb Ross, Jamie Wilson, these guys. They don't bring anything to the party at all. And let's face it, if you're in front of them, you know there's no one behind you that's going to take your jersey. Like the subs bench probably just names itself.
Yeah.
And if they get the odd start, so that's where we need a wee bit of movement, definitely.
Do you think there's going to be room for manoeuvre? Do you think we're going? I mean, until we can move some of these players. But the problem is, Ross, who's going to take these players? You know, how do we get these guys off the wage bill?
I think this is where John McGlynn's just going to have to be creative. John, he's going to need to try and get boys out on loan. It's maybe easier to get them out on loan in January, because at the start of the season they're thinking, well, I'm not going up to Elgin for for the next 9 months. Whereas if you're saying to them it's for 3 or 4 months, they might be a gimme, or whatever the case may be. I think John is going to have to work his magic though, because I don't think there'll be funds there unless. When is it we play Alloa again? In the cup, I mean, is it middle of January? So if you were to get through that, and by luck you draw Rangers or Celtic away, so you know you're going to make a couple $100,000, then they may say to John in the last week of the window, right, listen, you've got a bit extra money. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to get given money. That's obviously players.
Yeah, it's and obviously we spoke to John and Paul on this podcast, and the frustrating thing is he's got players marked out, maybe not for this season, but seasons going forward, but all relies on us moving up the leagues, doesn't it? It's for me, it's a B, and I'm only giving the B rather than the B minus as you sort of given, or the C plus as you've given Ross, is just because I've been used to draws for the last couple of seasons, and certainly the start of the season was exciting. I just hope that some of the big players can start finding Stephen McGinn, I'm looking at you, just finding that consistency, and we've talked about it, he's got a new way and that might play into it. Aidan Nesbitt, Callum Morrison, Aidan Nesbitt especially really needs to step up, and if he's not stepping up, get him out of the team now.
Yep.
We've talked about it a while and the difference he made. He's a difference maker. Aidan Nesbitt's not making that difference. So for me, you know, you start looking at Lawal and using him. I know he's young, but he has made an impact on in most of the games he's played. Up front, I guess we still need to look at for me, again, just switching tactics. We've talked about people finding us out, Dunfermline, Kelty, what have you. We need to find a way of a plan B. John McGlynn seems to have a very one way of playing, and that's great, but you know, it's very much the philosophy, keep doing plan A better, you know. But you need a plan B. You need, in work and life, you need a plan B. You need something to fall back on, and that is what we need, I think, as well. I think putting someone to help Stephen McGinn in that midfield, we were desperate for that little terrier in midfield just to dig us out. And Finn is good, and I really like Finn, but he's not at the age or the experience levels to do that. We need Paddy Craig is who we need, is what we need, or an Arnold Riera or someone like that in there.
Paddy Craig, Arnold Riera, that's exactly the type of player, but we'll probably struggle to get someone like that in League One, but
yeah,
you never know. So fingers crossed, as we say, John worked his magic.
I know, and a right back, obviously Santa, if you're listening, a right back. Ryan Williamson, I don't know what's going on there. You know, feel really sorry if it's been consistent injuries, but I'm sorry, we can't. We need to plough on that. We need to, the first thing we need on that Christmas list, and I hope it's in place for the game against Dunfermline, is a right back. Finn, as well as young as he is, that's not his position, but he's done all right there. Brad Mackay, we can see the frailties there. As good he is at set pieces and stuff like that, with the system that McGlynn's trying to play, it just doesn't work with Brad out there. So, yeah, We are desperately in need of a right back. Desperate. So that's our assessment of the season so far. But we put up on our Twitter just a couple of questions we thought we'd ask you. A couple of people come in with actually their own views. There was a bit of chat on our Twitter after someone put up a poll about John McGlynn and whether he should. Unbelievably, someone saying if he should be given the sack or whatever, which is ridiculous, absolutely ludicrous.
It's ridiculous at this stage. Yeah, that is ridiculous. So he should be given the sack. I don't even think it's worth talking about. But you're right. No. There's loads of good chat coming through the chats, John.
Yeah, Ian saying consistent is what we're lacking. There are no standout teams in League One. Any of the 6 teams could win it. We just need to get a settled team to start winning games, even if we're not completely at it. Starting on Friday and then backing it up onto the 2nd of January at East End Park.
Yeah, I'll agree with every word of that. And he's right. We do. Starting Friday, then kick on East End Park. And if you do that, who knows how Dunfermline will get on this weekend. They've got a derby match against Kelty. I think it might be at Kelty. Yeah. That will be...
just coming off the result of beating Queen of South the weekend.
That won't be an easy game. So if we win and you go to Eastern Park and pick up a win, then it's as tight as anything again. Yeah.
Falkirk Boys says, imagine he replaced Mackay, Hetherington, McGuffey, Wilson, Williamson, Ross and Martin with players that he actually wanted. So again, I'm still not having this as an excuse because he's got a lot of players in that he did want to use that. And Doug says might not be consistent, but at least we've shown signs of improvement under McGlynn, which is very, very true. Questions we asked for a kind of mid-term review was best signing, poorest signing, best goal scored, best moment so far, and best away day so far. So very positive. Dougie, who just talked there, says best signing's been McGinn. Worst signing, better than what we've had recently, but jury's still out on who's the worst signing. Best goal, the Wiles diving header. Best moment, full time against Hibs, and best away day, Dunfermline.
Yeah, no, it's good shouts for the goal. The Wiles, it was a lovely diving header, wasn't it? Miss Chandler Bourne, a recent and regular tweeter, says best McGinn, worst Henderson. Based on how well he played at Arbroath, he looks so uncomfortable. The goal, McCann versus Edinburgh, moment has to be between Hibs at home, and a lad the worst, Kelty away, which is awful. Away day, Queen of the South away 3-0. Last time we played well. Roll on 2023.
Yeah, Gordon's going with Cole Donaldson's best signing. Worst signing, he's not leaving us saying not sure any could be classed as poor. Lowell's diving header for the best goal. Morrison goal versus them is the best moment. And Wick away for the best away day.
Yeah, I can imagine Wick. So obviously you and I didn't unfortunately get up to Wick.
I can imagine that being good.
It's going to be a large chunk of people's best away day. Navy Blue Agenda says McGinn, Henderson. McGinn best player, Henderson.
Worst signing.
Williamson versus Peterhead for the goal. Not many to pick from, but Lawal's goal versus Queens I loved for the celebration alone. And Pfeiffer's away is the best away day, minus the result. Yeah,
Taylor's went. The first time we've heard Roman Burrow was best signing, worst signing. Harsh, but Oliver. Gary Oliver, there you are. Best goal scored, Williamson or McCann. Not too sure about that. Best moment, going 1-0 up at East End and beating Hibs. And best away day, really enjoyed Bonnyrigg. But nice going to the park.
That's true. Bonnyrigg midweek. That would have been even better at the weekend, but it was a good wee away day midweek as well. Nice night as well. It was absolutely Garrett says best signing Stephen McGinn. Poorest signing, I'm going to be that guy. None. All put effort in my opinion, apart from a few matches. Best goal scored, Liam McCann. Best moment so far, the Hibs game. Full-time whistle, what a feeling. And best away day so far, he doesn't have one yet.
I'm not too sure if we'll take Bonnie Uck's one as serious, but best signing, Jamie Wilson. But he's, that's not the best thing because we've not signed him. He didn't sign him. But worst signing, Aidan Nesbitt. Best goal scored, Joe Cardle. Best moment so far, the Crossbar Challenge jackpot winner. Best away day so far, Edinburgh Zoo.
He's right with the Edinburgh Zoo because we were probably standing in Edinburgh Zoo. James says Donaldson, best signing. Worst signing Harsh, but I'm still not convinced by Gary Oliver. McCann versus Edinburgh for the goal. Pierce Carroll assist. I think you
best moment so far. That's an interesting one.
That's a good shout. And away day, missed a lot of the usual belters this season, but he's going to say Dunfermline.
Yeah, and finishing off is Chris. Best signing, Cole Donaldson. Poorest signing, PJ Morrison. Best goal, was diving header versus Queen South. Best moment, my son being mascot versus Peterhead. Oh, that's lovely. And best away day, Morton in the League Cup. Ross, let's go with questions for you. Best signing.
Probably Cole Donaldson. If you'd asked me a month ago, I'd maybe have said Stephen McGinn. Poorest signing, I'm probably going to go Gary Oliver as well, because he's not doing what I thought he was there to do, which was put the ball in the net that often. I know he's scored a couple, but he's not done it regularly. I don't know what his role in the team is. I'm going to go with McCann for the goal as well. What's left? The away day. Probably Dunfermline for the day out. That was good. Apart from the result, that was a cracking day out. But the Edinburgh away in August was pretty good as well.
Yeah. Best moment so far?
Probably Hibs at full time. Because it was good. Because it kind of, whilst it was the League Cup, it gave you a wee bit of a taste. So you're thinking, right, come on, this is going to be our season. I know it's not quite there yet, but it might still go that way. What about you?
Got to go with my boy, Cole. Cole Donaldson, best signing. I think he's been outstanding, ball playing centre half at the back. Just strolls it for me. I think he's been a revelation at centre half. If we could only find a partner that suited them to go in alongside that, because Sean Mackey might be it. We'll wait and see. Liam Henderson, I think I might have to put down. I really like Big Liam, and there's games where he's been excellent as well, but he's been very inconsistent, Liam. So I'd probably have to put him down as the worst sign. Probably best goal scored so far. I'm gonna have to give it to the PE teacher. That big.
Really?
I'm giving it to the PE teacher. I liked McCann's the skill, but Ryan ran the whole length of the park, and it was an absolute belter finish. And I just remember going, "Oh my God, what's he doing?"
It was more the shock factor as well.
I know. So I'm going to give the PE teacher. By the way, underrated goal as well. Morrison's against Clyde in the 3-each game.
That was an absolute belter of a finish. You forget about that. Actually, that's one of those ones that you forget about. But yeah, no, that was an absolute peach.
But yeah, I think you're going to be hard beat to Williamson. McCann's are going to be hard to beat this season. Loa's diving header was a cracker as well, right enough. Best moments so far, again, I think the Hibs game, in fact, Sean Mackey's tackle. Let's put that when Sean Mackey went through and set that bar down against Hibs in that game early on, that's when you went, yes, Falkirk are back. So I'm going to put that down as my best moment so far. And best away day, loved the Edinburgh day out, even though you missed the goal, one of the goals, Ross. We won't bring that up ever again. But yeah, looking forward to it again in January. Going to the Artisan. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible waste to watch football. Don't get me wrong, but it's a wee away day. We all have a wee trip to Edinburgh, so I'll go for that one for that. So that is our assessment of the half season so far. Fingers crossed for the second half of the season, Ross.
That's all we can do, mate. That's all we can do.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Right, we're finally here. The World Cup is over. We talked about it earlier on, but the most important World Cup, don't forget about Lionel Messi becoming the GOAT, lifting the trophy. Big Martinez using the goalie glove as a cock. The big World Cup that everyone's talking about is the Falkirk Football Club World Cup of Shirts. There we go. And it was the final this week. It's been running for a while, this poll, our longest poll running, and it was the 2015-2016 home shirt. That is the navy blue with the gold. Remember it from the cup final run. Versus the 91-94 home shirt, which of course is the classic Hummel with the Bees Are Homes and the red shoulders with the design around it. It was the tournament favourite, Ross. The tournament favourite. And can we have a drum roll for the final result of the World Cup of Shirts, which has got nothing to do with the world or anything to do with the World Cup, just in case FIFA are listening. The results are in.
They are in. So the 2015-16 home shirt, only, I was shocked, amassed 36.5%.
which means there was only one winner. The tournament favourites, much like Argentina, have went on to win the Falkirk Football Club World Cup of Shirts. It's the 91-94 home shirt with 63.5% of the vote. Congratulations to the Beezer Homes. O'Neill's, if you're listening to this podcast, let's get a rerun of that on the go. You'll make an absolute fortune on it.
Well,
if you can do that, that would be much obliged. Also, just personal favour, if you're listening, O'Neill's, the Beezer home one, which didn't even make the tournament, with the blue pat, different shades of blue and stuff like that. Yeah, if you can make that as well, that'd be much appreciated. But there you go, only one winner, Ross. No surprises, and it is, of course, the 91-94 home shirt. Well done.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Roscoe, we are moving on to Queen of the South, and it is on Friday night. Friday night games are always quite good because you get to go to the pub after it. Obviously, the most famous Friday night game was against Hibs in the playoff, and what a night that was up the Toon.
That was a belter of a night. If we have a fraction of the excitement of that night on Friday, I will be absolutely delighted. Although I don't think you're able to make it, you're going to a gig or something.
No, I'm not. Do you know what? It's terrible. I'm not making the game on Friday night because I am off to see Mogwai, which was booked. So when it was reannounced, I thought, oh, great. Oh no. I thought, Friday night. And then I realised I'm going to see Mogwai at the Barrowlands. And as much as I love Falkirk Football Club, I've never seen Mogwai at the Barrowlands, and it's going to be really, really loud. Plus, I've got my breakfast show. I work on the breakfast show in Clyde one, and I'm going out during the day with a couple of the presenters during the day, and then on to Mogwai at night. So it should be a good day out, but Jesus, missing the football, which I'm gutted about. But Queen of the South have been, for us, they've not really gave us much bother. Touchwood this season.
No, touchwood, as you say. We need it to continue as well.
Yes, we do.
What is the two scores been 3-1 actually? Is that
yes, they have. They have. Obviously,
that
down
again. 3-1 on Friday night, and hopefully the Queen of the South goal would just be a consolation as well. Don't want them taking the lead, but we've done well against them this season, and I think we need it. We do need it to continue on Friday. Set us up for the trip to East End Park. I know we've not got anyone coming on from a Queen of the South perspective, but they are hit and a miss. They win a game, they lose a game, they draw a game, they win a game, they draw a game. Yeah,
looking at the last results, I mean, obviously they got beat the weekend there by Kelty, so didn't ourselves. Then they beat Alloa the weekend, they drew against Dunfermline, then beat off Morton in the Cup, beating Montrose down there at Palmerston. So they have been, again, we talk about in this league, and we talked to all the people we've spoke to, whether it be Alloa supporters, Airdrie supporters, Queen of the South supporters, it's just the inconsistency, and no one can get consistency apart from those across the fourth. And even them at the moment, they're dropping points.
They are dropping points. So we definitely, I know we sound like a broken record, but we just need to be on their coattails in the next month or so. If they slip up, we need to be there to take advantage. Starting Friday night, we play Friday, they play Saturday. So it would be a big win to get it. Hopefully they'll drop points on Saturday against Kelty. But it all starts on Friday night, must-win game, as you say.
Yeah, big player for them is, of course, Rory Payton, 13 goals and 6 assists for the season. So, again, we spoke to Ewan earlier on this season. He's a big, big player for them. Another player that's actually done really well for them is Josh Todd. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists from the season. He's playing them out at right back, and he's got a man bun now, which we saw at the last game. But they have got players that can cause problems, Queens. But, under Willie Gibson, they haven't, kicked on, I guess, as they would have liked to.
No, they've not. They're a big team as well. They carry a good home crowd when they're on form. Actually, their away crowd, considering the journeys they have to do, is pretty consistent as well. I'm not convinced there'll be many there from Dumfries on Friday night. Hopefully, the home crowd will be big because obviously the clubs have been marketing it pretty well. And I think they reduced ticket prices as well, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
So hopefully we'll get 3,500, 4,000 there on Friday night. It's a tough time of year. People have got a lot of stuff going on with nights out and gigs as well. But hopefully there'll be a big crowd there. It will help. I know it doesn't always help, like the Dunfermline home game, but we just need 3 points, John. That's all that matters on.
Well, I mean, they're on 23, we're on 29, 6 points ahead of them. You know, Edinburgh, we saw there at the weekend, that was probably the best result we could have hoped for as Montrose and Edinburgh played out a draw. So we're currently in third. Again, chance to go above Edinburgh again at the weekend and get ourselves back into second and cement ourselves there. That's what we need to do now, cement ourselves into that second spot and just keep putting pressure on Dunfermline because that's all we can do.
That's it, buddy. That's the result. That's the result.
So bookies have got us Falkirk evens 1-1. The draw's 12-5 and Queens 11-5 on Friday night. So fingers crossed for a Bairns win. I want to hear updates when I'm sitting watching listen to very loud music, absolutely steaming drunk because I've been out all day. I want to see updates on my phone from you, Ross, saying easy street 5-0.
Yes, that'll be the chat. I'll try and keep the Twitter feed updated as well on Friday night too. Yeah,
it's a time of giving, so hopefully Queen of the South's defence on Friday night will be generous enough to let Falkirk score a good few. That would be very much appreciated, Josh Todd. Thank you very much.
This is Falkirk Daft.
And that is it for this week's Falkirk Daft. A wee bit different this week with no game to speak to, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it was good. Do you know, maybe we should just ignore the football results and every week. And we'll just, I think that's the plan of attack.
No, absolutely. Well, this is the last one we do before Christmas. So are you getting any... what have you asked Santa for? Have you asked for some Falkirk stuff from Santa?
Not just 3 points on Friday night, Jordan.
That's all we want, Santa. Santa, please give us 3 points.
Actually, I would like a win over Dunfermline as well. If
you could make it one done. That's, do you know, I'd be quite happy. Forget about gifts. Just give us, 3 points against Dunfermline, 3 points against Queen of the South, and we'll all walk away very, very happy. So listen, have a great Christmas, and thank you for listening for the last 6 months since we started this podcast. We're on to episode 23 of this podcast now. We really appreciate your feedback, really appreciate everyone that supported the podcast, all our sponsors out there. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Remember, you can listen or watch here on YouTube. You can subscribe, rate and review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Falkirk Daft. And remember, we've got merch up for grabs as well, Ross.
We do indeed. Lots of merchandise on sale at the link that you'll find in the comments attached to the links. But we've had a few people tag themselves in, so we've shared those on our social media posts as well. Our competition winner from earlier in December took delivery of their 2 mugs and 4-pack of coasters just last week, so I'll need to ask them for a photo. We'll get a photo.
Oh, definitely, and hopefully you get some Falkirk Daft merchandise for your Christmas if you've been a good boy or girl. So thank you very much for listening to Falkirk Daft for the last 6 months. We'll be back somewhere in between Christmas and that. It's not going to be out on Monday because that's Christmas. It's Boxing Day. See, this is where I get confused. Boxing Day's Monday, so we'll all be too drunk and stuff to do it then. So we're going to get together before Ross has to go away. He's away on his holidays. So expect a episode to drop sometime in that void between Christmas and the Dunfermline game.
It's that period where you don't know if it's Sheffield Wednesday or Pancake Tuesday.
exactly. So so there will be an episode coming out very, very soon. We just don't know when. Right, so there you go. Consistent as ever on Falkirk Daft. Thank you very much for listening, and as ever, Ross,
expect the unexpected, everybody, and Merry Christmas when it comes.
Ho ho ho.